So we're joined on the phone now by Martin, a.k.a. King Roc, on the line from the UK. Busy start to the summer for you?
Yeah, it's been really good. I've done quite a bit of travelling, so that's a lot of fun. But I have to say, I've got a couple of weeks in the studio now, which I'm really happy to have, because as much as the DJing is a brilliant laugh, and I really enjoy it, it's always nice to have a bit of a break. So I'm just doing that at the moment. I'm now sitting in my studio working on some new tunes, so all good.
So rock music, obviously a really big influence on your life and your upbringing.
Yeah, you're the first person to take up on it. Well done. Yeah, I mean that's my roots. I got into music through playing the guitar, and was a mad fan of Rage Against the Machine and guys like that. Some pretty heavy stuff as well. But then joined a dance band, playing guitars for them, and these guys kind of really opened my eyes up to all this electronic music. And slowly got more and more involved in that, and less involved with my guitar. But I still listen to rock music and guitar music almost all the time at home. I very rarely put on a dance album or something like that. So it's still a big part of my life, absolutely.
Can you think of a specific point where you kind of crossed over from rock to more electronic?
I would say it would probably have to be it was actually about 10 years ago. So back in about 96, 97, and I think it was primarily through hearing stuff like Left Field, the first Left Field album, Leftism, and the first Chemical Brothers album, Exit Planet Dust. These guys, where it wasn't so much a techno mentality. There was broken beats, and it was very melodic and quite soundscapey and quite trippy, and that really appealed to me as well. It was I wasn't into, back then, the kind of classic, what you'd call maybe vinyl dance, techno or stuff like that. But as I got further and further into electronic music, I got a greater understanding of it, and then realised just, how good it actually is. So, and that's kind of brought me to where I am today. But I have to say, personally, my taste in music changed every kind of couple of years. It's always, evolving and moving forward. So I've had the advantage of really being into a lot of different styles of music, which is really great.
You mentioned Rage off the top of the interview. Are there any other bands or individuals that have had some major influence that you'd love to try doing a production with?
Wow. Produce with... Oh, I mean, I don't ever kind of aspire to work with anybody in particular, because I recognise that the relationship of working with another musician is a very specific environment, and it's not an easy thing to create. I mean, there's a guy I'm working with at the moment called Giles Smith here in London, and he's one of the first guys I've worked with in the last kind of, 5 or 6 years, where we've actually just kind of really gelled in the studio, and we can really feed off each other, and we've got that working relationship where we can bounce back and we get really good ideas off each other. So to say that I would love to go and work with, someone like Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine, I would love to, but I'd probably... I wouldn't know if it would be the best work I could do. I would love to remix some of those guys. But I mean, I always say the original, and this going back to my kind of roots albums of the dance stuff, the early Left Field stuff, I would love to get my hands on some of those parts and kind of rework them. That would be a real honour, definitely. Now,
you have a new album, a new EP out, Flicker. How's that going?
Yeah, really great. It's had a really good response from the club side, the DJs. Really good response around the world from press and radio. So I'm really happy with the way people have taken it up. It's a slightly different sound for me, going a little bit techier than I have in the past. And it's the first thing I've had out in about 6 months. Where at the end of last year, I came to a period of writing where I'd done quite a large string of remixes, and I'd had a series of a few EPs out on my own stuff. I wasn't so far as lost, but I'd done a lot of travelling as well, and I needed to kind of step back a little bit. And the result of that stepping back means it's taken about 6 months for anything else to come out, because that's what happens if you stop working continuously. There's a long time before anything else comes out. So this is the first thing I would have had out, original certainly, in about 6 to 7 months. So I'm really excited about it coming out. And yeah, like I say, so far the response has been good. So we'll just have to wait and see if it sells. Hopefully it will.
Now, do you find it's tough to balance a DJing lifestyle and still manage to cram in some production time?
I certainly recognise that, the more you become a DJ, the less you can produce, in my opinion. I think, for me, really good studio work doesn't just come on Tuesday, sit down, bam, write a tune. It's like I had to spend like kind of 2 weeks in the studio solid, working continuously. And by the end of the second week, I'm all guns blazing. Everything's going, and ideas start to become a little bit more, well, I would say at that stage, a lot more exciting. Because I get more experimental as I get further into it. I realise that all the different things I can do. If I take the time with it. Whereas when I'm flying around a lot DJing, the travelling takes it out of you. So if you go away and you travel for the whole weekend, it takes me till like Tuesday or Wednesday to even kind of get back in the zone of writing music anyway. And if I'm leaving again on the Friday, it gives me 2 days to write music and that's it. So there's definitely a balance. And I certainly wouldn't want to DJ all of the time because it would take a lot of my studio time away from me. So,
do you think yourself as a DJ or as a producer first?
Oh, definitely without a doubt, producer. Without a doubt. I mean, to be honest with you, I fell into DJing because of the music I loved. I never kind of had an aspiration to be a DJ. But I now, truly reckon. I mean, it's amazing fun. Once you get into it, it really is a blast. Especially when you start traveling to different places you've never been to before and hanging out with all these great people around the world. You just get to spend like 2 days with them and you go and party together and it's really good fun. But my original love is writing music. And if I was put up on a fence and given a choice of picking one or the other, I would have to go with writing music and the production side of things. But DJing is such a vital part, I think, these days to really understanding what's working on the dance floors right now, because it keeps you current and up to date with how the clubs are feeling, the atmosphere you're getting in the club, and helps you to kind of work the music that you're into to kind of feed into the sound that's happening in the clubs as well. So they're both very important.
Are there any new productions you're working on, maybe a remix or two?
Yeah, well, I mean, I just finished a remix last week, which was the first one I'd done in, like I say, about 6 months, which was there's an old classic track called Humanoid by Stacker. Mm-hmm. And it came out, I think, probably in about 94, 93. Written originally by I believe, the Future Sound of London guys, mm-hmm. who I did a remix for at the end of last year. And so they emailed me and asked me if I'd like to do a remix of this because they're re-releasing it. So I just did that, which is really exciting. And I'm now working on a new album. Well, it's sort of like an album project. I've got a new imprint, Mutual Society, which I'm setting up myself. I'm going to be releasing a series of EPs, 5 or 6 EPs, followed up by an album. And I'm going to kind of take all the music from within the EPs and merge them and kind of sort of like remix them to make a live album. So it's kind of like doing an artist album in reverse. Instead of writing a 4-minute song and then getting club mixes of it, I'm doing the club mixes first, and then I'm going to take all the parts and turn them into kind of, different kind of tracks, down tempo, and a more kind of album soundscapey kind of thing. So yeah, that's what's keeping me busy at the moment. So there's quite a lot going on.
Is there a big difference for producing for an international label such like Ultra or Injuna, or don't want to use the word simpler, but more specific, smaller labels such as Minus Zero or Simple Records?
I mean, to be honest with you, the thing is, for example, if you go and do a remix for a bigger label, they're probably asking you to do a remix because they've heard some stuff you've done and they want something of that sound to fit in with their package that they're releasing. So then sometimes you can be a little bit more limited with your ideas. I prefer personally working with smaller labels, and so I really feel like I have complete freedom. I mean, that's not to say I've ever felt I felt like I've been pigeonholed, but there are times when somebody will come to me and they'll want maybe a track in a certain style, like a big kind of electro-ish remix, and I'm not in that mood. Maybe I feel like writing something like Deep, but that's not what they're after. So sometimes, I've had to turn down remixes based on that, where people they've requested something specific and it's just not been the mood I'm in, so I had to say no. But generally, for the most part, working with smaller labels is more satisfying because you get, complete expressive and creative freedom. But sometimes you don't make as much money out of it. So, it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up between the two. They both have their place, definitely.
You've had a chance to tour to some very unique and interesting places. What has been the most exciting so far?
Well, I have to say this year I went to Brazil for a tour, and I was able to take my girlfriend out, and we turned it into a holiday, and that was amazing. So I got to DJ at some festivals and clubs, and also got to do some sightseeing, which when you're you're doing all this traveling. I've been to places that I haven't even had a look around in. I've been to like Shanghai. I was in Shanghai for like less than 24 hours, which is just ridiculous. I should have taken at least 2 days out there and just spent some time there, but it's not always convenient. It's not always an option. So the Brazil trip was very special for the fact that I was able to, actually have a look around. And then last couple of months ago, I went to Australia, and in between my DJ dates, I went up to the Great Barrier Reef and went scuba diving for like 4 days, stayed on a boat, and just went scuba diving every day, and that was just amazing, like totally amazing, like swimming with sharks and turtles and all sorts of stuff. So, there are definitely some real perks with doing this as a job, and that goes without saying.
Now, what's been the biggest mishap on the way?
Do you know what? I get asked this question quite a bit, to give me some drama story. I've been really lucky. See, the only thing I ever really have to worry about is making sure the travel plans go on time. That I get my plane on time, that I get to the airport on time, all this kind of stuff. And I seem to be pretty good at that, touch wood, I need to find some wood, but I'm waiting for something really bad to mess up. But so far it's been okay. So, let's not jinx it and turn it all wrong from now on.
And I guess finally, what's up next? I see you're off to Mexico. Plans to, lay on the beach for a bit, or?
Well, yeah. Again, this is one of those trips where I'm going to be doing a couple of dates out there. I'm hoping to take some time off for myself, but I have a lot of studio commitments. If the tour ends up being over 2 weekends, then of course in the week in between I will do some sightseeing and stuff. But if I'm only over there for 1 weekend, I might take an extra day just to kind of have a quick look around. But yeah, I really unfortunately have to get back in the studio, and there's quite a lot I've got to get on with. With starting this new project, like I said, this mutual society, I've just created this mountain of extra work that I have to do, dealing with distributors and pressing plants and promotion and press and all this stuff. So my diary suddenly got twice as full at home because of this extra work I created for myself. But, it's a lot of fun, so this is the way it goes. So, I'll probably make it quite a short trip to Mexico.
Well, excellent. Looking forward to see you. Hopefully, we'll see you in Toronto sometime soon.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. I'm supposed to be coming to Canada. I was supposed to come to Canada, actually, beginning of the year. It wasn't actually Toronto, it was Vancouver and Victoria. But I've heard there are some really good places to go to in Toronto. I've got a friend who's plays breaks and that kind of music, a bit more, a guy called Roc July, and he's been out there, and he said it was really good fun. So, yeah, fingers crossed, hopefully soon. You're listening to King Roc on Amplified Radio with DJ Amps. Hi, this is King Roc, and you're listening to my latest track on Amplified Radio.